And 1, 2, and 3. Tell me if and how do you hear me, guys. It should be good. We should be starting. Let me. Hello, good evening. Let me take off all of my alarms because they are extremely annoying. I've noticed that a couple of streams I've been missing out because loud and clear. Nice, 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 nice. Let me pop up the chat. So I have you always on top of everything, so I always can read. And I always need to remember that once I pop the chat, I switch from the top chat to live chat. So I read every message and not only the chosen ones. Perfect. So a lot of topics to talk about today. Really a lot, guys. Really, really a lot. We'll see how it goes. I actually, by today, midday, I was thinking if I should rename this stream because the news just kept appearing and so on. And the biggest news was the Putin announced ceasefire. So I'm not sure if you heard this or not. Good intro. Yes, I've posted the link already to the song. If you're looking for the song, here is the link. Otherwise, it's going to be in the video that will come of this recording. I will post the link to the video and to the song in the recording of the stream. So, Putin said 36 hours ceasefire. And I wanted to rename the stream instead of what is it, the next offensive that Russia is not going to hold. I wanted to rename it to Putin's ceasefire and a dumbass media or a stupid media, because I mean, let's be honest. Let's be honest. We are now in chat. How many are we? Okay, let me see. How many are we? So we are 327. So we have 327 people in this chat. And I am almost completely confident that no one of these 327 was thinking that Putin did actually propose ceasefire in good faith. Like 405? Okay, so we're 405, so it didn't update for me. Ah, yeah, it's updated just now. So let's be honest. No one really believed it. Like, no one. And I'm pretty sure. So, yes, we are a lot. I want to just give a shout out and say, Hoko, I know that you watched some kind of stream with pro-Russian streamers. I'm very sorry for you. I still don't understand how you find the strength in you to watch these things, because I just cringe a lot whenever I watch some pro-Russian commentators, because one thing is listening to the actual talking heads, and the completely other thing is talking from the second-hand media that is trying to turn it into something that it's not on its head. Obviously, sound is pitch perfect. Perfect. Erdogan's idea? No, I don't think it's Erdogan's idea, because the first one who said about ceasefire was the Patriarch Kirill, which is the... by the way, did you know that the Patriarch of the Russian Orthodox Church is a former FSB agent? Or a KGB, I don't remember. It's the same shit. So KGB, FSB, it's the same thing. So yes, there you go. So the patriarch of the same church that called on to go into Ukraine and kill Ukrainians now saying, "Oh, guys, let's have a Merry Christmas together." What do you say? So it's a little bit of a hypocrisy. It's a huge hypocrisy, because Russia is not fighting this war. I mean, I'm preaching to a choir here, right? So because I'm pretty sure you know that no one was proposing the ceasefire in good faith, but it's the hypocrisy is in the fact that during New Year's celebration, and New Year is probably the biggest celebration for Ukrainians. Pretty much everyone knows that. And what Russia does on the New Year's celebration, well, they send drone strikes. Obviously, Ukraine attacked Russian positions, because, of course, they did. But we need to understand that one thing is attacking military positions, and a completely other thing is sending in drone strikes on the civilian objects, which Russia does. It's a completely different thing. It's not even closely comparable. So whenever you see like Russians are trying to say anything, I'm just as again like you know this already, but they never are speaking in good faith. For Putin, any kind of negotiations, any kind of contract, any kind of deal that you want to negotiate with him is a sucker. So he finally finds a sucker that he can trick at some point. So Putin never takes any negotiations or any deals and anything in good faith. And I was really expecting that by this point it would be kind of obvious all over Europe. But then I watched additional media today because, especially, I'm going to shout them out, the France 24 channel in English. So this France 24 channel, not only they showed this that it's a big propaganda victory for Putin that he announced ceasefire and now it's Ukraine that needs to wiggle it out. Ukraine doesn't need to wiggle out of anything. It's a proposal in bad faith. You don't wiggle out of the proposal from bad faith. You don't need to do anything about it. And then secondly, this channel, they had some report about like Putin offering some kind of negotiations through Erdogan. This is what you're writing me about. And they are saying that, and I'm quoting, a ceasefire would be a good start. That man who said that phrase is a moron. And I wrote as much under the video, but we need to understand that even now, 10 months into war, when you're supposed to think that like all masks are off of Russia, that Putin, by breaking every deal, any contract, anything that had his signature, you would kind of figure out that there is no negotiations possible. And yet here comes some public media and puts a guy on TV that's like, well, let's just have a ceasefire and negotiations and that will bring the war to an end. Wow. Like, just wow. I should have just told him to watch my channel. Subscribe to Ukraine Matters. Share the links to this stream so everyone can watch this and learn what's actually happening and how actually people should react. I'm gonna help you a little bit, Ali. We have invasion force coming in. So, yeah, it's fine. All right, so that was the starting topic, just to kind of kick it off for us today in a good mood. Why is this happening? Why is the ceasefire? Well, if you have not been following the community tab on my channel, I suggest you do, because while I cannot record videos or stream every day because I have a full-time job, I do post significant updates on the community feeds and sometimes even memes. Mostly useful stuff, memes sometimes, very sometimes. But one of the major things that's the development is that the weather is becoming really good. Right on the 6th, 7th, 8th, when the essentially Russian Christmas, the Orthodox Christmas comes in, that's exactly when the ground solidifies, and that's exactly where Ukraine is considering to kick off its offensive. At least we are expecting to, right? Don't quote me on the fact that's like, well, Georgie, you said to us that Ukraine is going to do offensive, and yet we see nothing. I am not calling an offensive, but General Zaluzhny has been saying that offensive is ready. Next offensive is ready. I think it was either Yermak or someone else from the office of president, maybe the Minister of Defense, that said that once the ground solidifies, we're going to attack. The whole December, most of the analysts that I listen to, they're also saying that Ukraine is pretty much wants to attack, but the ground is just not solid enough for a wide maneuver warfare. And we've seen plenty of videos of trucks and vehicles having a really bad time struggling. And we've seen some of the previous days where a couple of weekends and days the ground became just a little bit more solid and instantly Ukraine had some battle successes, and they were able to advance. This was mostly happening around the north of Kremina line, where it is a little bit colder in Ukraine. And I think actually one of the major things that we are underestimating whenever we're talking about this war is just how huge Ukraine is. If you haven't seen interview of Jake Bro with oh my God, I forgot the name. It was Paul. Oh my God, just a recent interview Jake had. Sorry, Jake. Was it? No, not Jake Paul. No, not Jake Paul. Um, Jake, bro. Yeah, Paul Mansara. Was it Paul Mansara? Paul Mansara. Yeah, Paul Mansara. Yes, exactly. So Paul Massaro, and he, when he described Ukraine in that interview, actually, it's a wonderful interview. You should watch it. It gives really good perspectives about. I think he has really spot on points. I'm very surprised that a person so quickly, by just kind of just following what Ukrainians say and just following the just visiting Eastern Europe and talking with actual people here, that so quickly he caught up to what the common Europeans, Eastern Europeans, are feeling and seeing Russia as. So, and the way that he's describing Ukraine, he's saying is just ludicrously huge. Like he's saying it's once he gets there, only then he realized just how huge Ukraine is, because Ukraine is massive. Because we always think, Hong Kong. I actually would love to know more about Hong Kong, Andrew. Like, gotta say, I'm sorry for tangent, sorry for taking off. Because, like, to be honest, I was following the Hong Kong and the situation in Hong Kong for so long, even before Ukraine and everything. And I'm really interested in how Hong Kong is developing right now with China now enforcing essentially their ruling class to be representatives of Hong Kong. So it's kind of a little bit unfortunate. But sorry for the tangent. Yes, so basically the idea was that Ukraine is massive. So when we are describing a lot of warfare in Ukraine, I see people sometimes misunderstanding the scales very often. Like, for example, if for example, some troops are attacking on one side of the front line, and then they are defending on some other side of front line, very often people just misunderstand just how far away, how big that line is, just how many kilometers there are. That if it's like 10,000 troops defending that line, that means that there is like literally no one defending it, because there is like holes that are huge. So when we're talking about south side, especially south side advances, if that line is frozen, if the fields are frozen on the south of Zaporizhia, then it's literally. Have you seen Mad Max? Now imagine Mad Max, except it's not desert and sand, but it's just frozen ground. That would be Mad Max situation like. So it's just like people roaming on fast-moving vehicles non-stop because there is no nothing to stop them. So Melitopol, like, what's next? I mean, what's next? Fair question. So we have three objectives to look out for. If Ukrainian offensive will happen, and I truly believe that it will, I might be wrong. The Ukrainian general staff might have different ideas. I'm not calling the shots. That would be very stupid because I'm not a strategist. But Ukrainian general staff, if they do see the possibility for an assault, I definitely think that the south should be the priority, because the benefits of the south are just massive. If Ukraine is to take Melitopol, then basically that collapses the whole southern line. Then any kind of defense of the south Kherson or area around Mariupol, I think area of the Mariupol would be the edge. It's like Mariupol would still kind of hold for some time, but up until Mariupol, like Berdyansk and so on, that would be untainable with Melitopol gone. And that means only one thing. If Melitopol falls, it's the siege of Crimea. The siege of Crimea begins. That's it, because Melitopol is collapsing the whole southern front, is starting the siege of Crimea. Because then the next logical objective is just bombing the shit out of the Crimean bridge so it collapses. That is basically what's on the table. Now, Melitopol has been fortified significantly. We have heard many reports that in the past months Russians were really hard at work, and I know very often we underestimate just how tough it is. But I think this is something that I more and more reconsider the more I listen to people on the front lines. That even it's like, even talking about Mobics, like every single Mobic, like mobilized person, maybe is not a big force. Like even a group of them, they're like not really a force. But if they would still be forced to essentially shoot towards the general directions of Ukrainians, they are still a potential threat and they still need to be dealt with. So essentially, if there is a lot of them, it still takes time to take through them, which allows to buy time, for example, for more battle-capable troops to come in, or more often than not, artillery to then start attacking Ukrainian positions. And the same kind of goes for defense lines. Yes, defense lines might not be as sturdy or as how do you say, robust as some of the defense lines we've seen, for example, from the Second World War. But it's still going to take some time to kind of clear it out and proceed. So, Captain, hello. Hello. Hi from Copenhagen. Hi from Odense. Yes. Travis, I noticed the number of daily Russian casualties have really spiked the last week or so. Is there something specific going on? Yes, Travis, this is exactly what we're talking about. What's happening right now in the south is shaping operations. So Ukraine stepped up their usage of ammunition because they're starting targeting and disrupting command posts, concentration of forces, artillery depots, etc., etc., etc. So intensity of Ukrainian artillery strikes have significantly increased for the last almost 2 weeks in the southern direction. What do you think will happen with DPR leader? I don't know. I mean, Lucas, tell me, is there even DPR or not? Let me ask you, chat. Okay, chat. We talk about DPR, LPR. Yeah, there we go. We talk LPR, DPR, but Russia has annexed those territories. Have everyone just have amnesia? Why is Russia playing amnesia and we suddenly just don't realize it? Haven't Russia annexed those territories? So there is no DPR anymore? Like, the problem, like, Russia is trying to erase this fact that they annex territories. And you know why they want to do it? Because that muddies the water. In the West, there are some scaredy cats that are still, oh, please, just not Crimea. Putin will push the button. Oh, no, nuclear. So we still have those people, both in the media, in my community. There are some, I know it's very, very couple, like very, very small minority. But there are still people that are genuinely believing that if Ukraine invades Crimea, which is, by the way, Ukrainian territory, so it's not an invasion if it's your own territory, and if Ukraine goes into Crimea, then Putin starts nuking. And I mean, that question, we've taken it apart so many times. So there is not even much to talk about here. But the fact is that people are saying, it's like, oh, but like, this is like Crimea and so on, and Crimea is already Russian territory. Well, if Crimea has been Russian territory, isn't like the other things, like, for example, Kherson, Russian territory as well? Because Russia has announced that Kherson is part of Russian territory. So in that sense, when Ukraine is already invading Russia proper territory as they annexed it, so that already means one thing, that's the Crimea is no different. So, and that's why I think Russia is trying to muddy the water, because it's like two narratives that are contradicting each other for them, because they both want to have their cake and eat it. They want to say, oh, we already annexed these 4 territories, but also it's like DPR, LPR, and Crimea is already totally Russia, you know? So it's like sitting on 2 chairs at once. Yes, let me answer one thing really quick. Yes, I'm from Svenborg, small world, not small world, small Denmark, small Fyn. We're actually going to Svenborg this Saturday. Funny enough. Freestyler asks, any comments on the latest Ukrainian attack on Radensk from today? Unconfirmed again, over 100 orcs suddenly became good. Ukraine has been striking the positions all over for the last 2 weeks. I usually just don't report on strikes, like, because there are just too many. You know, I stopped reporting, I think, like a week after the HIMARS strikes became so frequent that I just thought that's like, if I start covering every major strike, then it's going to take some time away from me reporting on it. So I just stopped covering. But Ukraine has been striking significantly, and I've spoken in my latest videos that it's a constant. So it's not only this time that is 100 works. There was times before that there was maybe not hundreds of works, but like, you know, tens of like 20, 30, 40 people that got killed by a single strike. Why, for example, Makivka is so important? Because it's just a massive one. Like, just literally hundreds of orcs just died right away, and it was excellent. Joost is saying, some while ago you asked for YouTube channels to be added to your channel list. Recently I found a really good one. Name is Ukraine TBIC. Ukraine TBIC is a good friend of Starsky, and I definitely recommend him. He is amazing. I definitely needed to add him for a while now. So thank you, USD. Level 70, thanks for $7 Canadian. Will Ukraine get the ammo it needs to finish the war? Yes. There is reportedly an ammo shortage in Bakhmut. How much ammo is Ukraine making on its own? Ukraine is starting to make. There is no open source information how much of these ammo is being made. But we definitely see the production is being scaled up. Right now, we don't know how much ammo Ukraine is just not giving the troops because they're preparing for assault. So when we're saying that Ukraine is short on ammo, yes, but I do believe that Ukraine is stockpiling equipment somewhere else for offensive. So if the things really become dire, like Ramo is literally running out completely, then I'm pretty sure that Ukraine will be able to tap into some storage potential that they're having. But that's not up to me. That's up to the Ukraine general staff. Do you believe groups like Kalinsky Regiment and Bipol can retake Belarus once Lukashenko fall, or will Putler instead try to annex the country like Ukraine? Slava. It's a very good question. Thanks for $10, Secular Sakai. Дякуємо за вашу роботу. Слава Україні. You're welcome. I'm really hoping that I'm doing a difference. H. Saurid, thank you so much for $3. Appreciate it. So, it's the same thing with Russia. You know, Secular Sakai, it's the same thing with Russia. I really want to believe that after the war, Russia is going to become democratic. Belarus is going to become democratic and free and open society. But that is not given. The problem is it's not given. With Belarus, it's a little bit different because in Belarus, I think there is enough people to form critical mass of movement to take over the country, essentially, once Lukashenko is gone. I do believe so. However, there are still possibilities that the power will stay with the people that have, because in a simpler societies in changing time, the person who is right is who have the violence potential. And there is still a big chance that even after Russia loses this war, and Belarus also, because they're part of the conflict, and I mean, Lukashenko and his apparatus is part of the conflict. Let's not put the Belarusians in here. So once that alliance loses the war, then we might expect there might be a turmoil. And one might be like a Putin's essentially clan because his claim on power. Maybe some other clans that with their own claims on power will have some kind of tug of war. Maybe Putin will have propaganda victory. Maybe it's going to be Wagner leader Prigozhin that comes to power. The point is the fact that both Russia and Belarus come to a democratic end after this war. I do not believe that it is given. That is actually one of my main criticisms of the Russian opposition. But I'm not going to talk about Russian opposition. I've talked about them way too much, a lot more than they deserve. I'm sending regards to Deep Pal for that. M. Davis, the ammo of the US is not but 1% of total. Yeah, yeah. Don't give Russia any ceasefire. No one is giving Russia any ceasefire. The only ceasefire Russia is getting is okay. No, I'm not gonna say it out loud. People might be listening. Okay, secular Sakai makes sense. Thanks for your thoughts on the matter. No problem. No problem. I just think that like a lot of times, for example, listening to a lot of the people and expectations after the war, it is often implied that after the war, Russia is just going to be this nice democratic country, and then we're going to have open borders and start trading and lift the sanctions, and the war criminals are going to get handed all over. And I don't believe that it's given. I do not believe it is given. You are mentioned in Kiev Post. What? 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 I am mentioned in Kiev Post? Bullshit. Like bullshit. I'm calling BS. Kiev Post. Okay, I opened main page. I'm not there, so I'm not mentioned. But it's nice to hear if it's true. Schroeder was politics for hire bitter. Yeah, yeah. I mean, Schroeder is Jesus Christ. I mean, I like capitalism. You know, like I like capitalism as a system. I think it's a system that allows for people to achieve something really good. You know, because it allows for some kind of social dynamics and so on. But I think there are excesses of capitalism that are just so atrocious to look at that just makes me vomit in my mouth. And Schroeder is a pretty much representative of that. He's the person that would essentially sell his own mother if he would get enough money for it. So I'm not a very high opinion of Schroeder. Don Trump, big fan, not a troll. Very good. Russia will not join the West in any way for the next 20 years. Rightly so. Slava Ukraini. Yeah, I mean it's a long and difficult question. It's something that actually Jake. Also, I'm going to refer to Jake Bro again because I really like the conversation with Paul Mansaro. I think it was really good. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much for $10 as well. I appreciate it. And they also talked about this. And one of the interesting perspectives that I thought about today was also the conversation with Jake Bro. So he made this analogy saying that Russia is a bully, and then you say like, so a dark alley, a person comes up to you, and then he pulls out something that resembles a gun, but you cannot see if it's a gun or not, and he's demanding your wallet and your watch. And Jake Bros his explanations was that, well, you should give it to him because like the sensible way to react is to give him the wallet and watch because it's not worth dying over. So that is true, but I think he is misunderstanding, and I think the best explanation for this is a game theory. So in game theory, we have like a single event game. I forgot the terminology already. Sorry, it was something I studied like years ago. So in the game theory, there is like single game event. So it's like we have this single interaction and then interaction is gone because it comes with the assumption that I'm not going to meet that person again. And so I think the faulty of logic with Jake Bro with that sense is that he is not expecting a secondary games like or next games or third game or so on. So when he's giving the watch and the wallet to that person in Dark Alley that pulled supposedly a gun, he is not expecting that the person will take that wallet and that watch, go sell the watch, keep the money from the wallet, and will then buy a real gun instead of a fake one that he had to then come up to you when you're having, for example, a party with friends and then rob you with all the friends, take their money if you give it away again, that one, because you already have a gun, sell half of it, take the half for again for 7 for himself, buy an automatic rifle, then break into your house, kill your wife, rape your daughter, and then demand that he will be that this apartment is now belongs to him and you move the fuck out. And then people from France 24 saying that, hey, maybe you should negotiate with this guy with the rifle that just broke into your apartment, and maybe you should just give him one of your rooms. So the interaction of I should just give my wallet and watch to a person with a potentially a gun is only as valid if it's a single game event. So that's my take on that interesting discussion that he had with Paul Monsaro and where I think he was wrong. Okay, you brought M. Davis. I want the US to give more ideal like they're being full of that we're running out of. You misunderstanding how I meant more for Ukraine. I mean, like more for Ukraine. Like, did I misunderstood something? I'm sorry if I misunderstand something. Lorna Morgan, there is really a good channel called Silicon Curtain who has excellent guests, his interviews. Yes, I've seen Silicon Curtain. It's definitely a very nice channel. I sometimes listen to there as a podcast, essentially, while I'm walking. I really enjoy Silicon Curtain. Can only recommend. But I'm not a frequent listener, like from time to time. Mark Garcia, after the war with Russia weakened, do you think Russian Federation will break apart? Any chance Finland will try to recover territory lost in the Winter Wars? I do not think Finland will try to recover territory in the Winter Wars. I think Finland laid claim off of that. And I think like Baltics laid claim off of their territories that were taken by Russia as well. But I definitely am not sure what's going to happen with Russia. And to be honest, I'm not very interested in what's going to happen with Russia. Russians, like a lot of the Russians, are expecting something good to happen to Russia. What I expect is going to be a lot worse than that. I'm not looking very positively to Russians and expecting much of him. Like, to be honest, I'm not expecting anything. John Zuzveld, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name. Capitalism is for industrialists and the money corporation. It is why we ended with globalization. Market enterprise is better within the social framework. Greetings from Australia. No, not only. Capitalism offers a very good social ladder. It's, for example, people to get rich if they want to. If people really want to get rich, they have the options. They have high risk, fast options, and they have low risk, slow options to get maybe not rich, but at least sufficiently comfortable in their lives. And capitalism are, I don't know, I think it's more sustainable just because the capital is, like if you own the capital, you are a little bit more protected than if you don't. You were mentioned in Kyiv Post with other 9 other bloggers. Oh my God, I really want to find it. I'm gonna print it and post it to show it to my wife, saying, "Oh my God." It's like, honey, I'm on TV, I'm on TV. But I actually saw on TV already. Someone on Twitter posted what they're watching one of my videos, and on TV. So what I did, I actually posted that Twitter video on my TV. So I was watching on my TV how someone was watching me on TV, just to Inception levels. What types of headphones are you using? You mean these ones or what? Or my normal ones, like for computer. We don't hear about Bayraktars anymore. I already answered about this one of the streams before, but I'm going to answer again. Secular Sakai, thanks for $10. Turkey has sent weapons and aid, but Erdogan keeps calling for a ceasefire. Do you believe Turkey is a true ally or simply playing both sides? Turkey is playing for Turkey. Erdogan really fucked up with his economy because he started putting his smooth brain dictator's hands into the economic system, which really messed it up. So now he's finally realizing that he needs to do something, and he kind of took off the pedal, like took the leg off the pedal on his economic plans, and now let actual professionals deal with it. However, he still wants some bite of it, and he's just wants Turkey to be stronger, to get out of this depressive situation where he put the country in. So right now he is doing lap dance for both sides, but essentially while it's benefiting Turkey. So I don't think he's supporting the war. He is very much the fact that he's sending weapons to Ukraine. I mean, no one asked for him to send weapons. I mean, let's put it this way. They asked for him, but like if he would not send weapons, to be honest, I don't expect anyone to be really like, well, of course Turkey is not sending to us. Like they're doing their own stuff. But yet he's going out of the way to actually contribute. So I think Turkey is having their own game. I don't trust dictators. I am pretty certain, given different circumstances, Erdogan could have been as bad as Putin. For example, maybe not for Ukraine, but for some other parts of the region. So I am very careful whenever we're talking about dictatorial regimes being good. I don't think Turkey under Erdogan is good. And I really want Turkey to come back to democracy. With that said, I don't think that he is a full ally of Putin. Because if Putin says, I'm going to give you money and you can keep sending weapons to Ukraine, but instead you need to, from time to time, call Zelensky and ask him, hey, are you ready for a ceasefire yet? And Zelensky says no, and Erdogan says, oh, well, he answered no, I tried. Fine, sure. I'm going to come back to the question of Bayraktar in a second. I checked that post that Anna shared, and I didn't find Ukraine Matters in the list. So, you see, I wasn't. What's the new Microsoft font you use to write words using Russian soldier corpses? It's a Twitter bot, not a Twitter, it's a Telegram bot. You can just submit your whatever phrase you need, and it will give you out a picture with dead Russians. Cognitive Dynamics, I love your commentary and the way you challenge mine and others' thinking. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Like, if I can challenge thinking and what we think about Russia, about the war in Ukraine, about the positions, then I'm like, if at least one person is doing it, I'm very happy. But it's definitely a lot more. So thank you so much. Let me see if I can find, if I have this bot saved. If I have the bot saved, I'll post a link. I think it was one of the Ukrainian channels. It's one of the popular Ukrainian channels that posted this on the community tab. One more minute. If I cannot find, I will continue the. Let's put it this way. I'll find it after stream and I'll post it in the community tab. Okay? Is it a deal? Just follow the community tab on this channel, and I will post it there. I think that's better than me. By the way, we're over 1,000. 1019 people watching us right now. Thank you so much, guys. If you can share the link to this channel so more people can see it, set a like, subscribe, whatever other YouTubers do. This YouTuber would like that also. But yes, so more people can see and be challenged. Chromatsky is very good. Okay, answering the question about Bayraktars. So it's a two-factor things. Firstly, Bayraktars need air defense-free zones to operate. Russia has been reinforcing their air defense, and especially with the front lines kind of shortening down with like Kherson offensive and Kharkiv offensive, and now the concentration of forces is more, it's more kind of centralized around the main areas of contact. The Bayraktars just don't have the freedom to operate. Secondly, videos from Bayraktar are really nice for us as viewers to see. But the problem of that with this challenged air environment, the Bayraktars, by sharing the videos and destroying assets, are reporting essentially the areas in which they are operating in. And right now, that means that if the Bayraktar is operating in the area, that there is some kind of hole inside of the Russian air defense that they are exploiting. So by posting these nice videos that we can just share and be fun of exploding things, it's actually compromising a very important operations for Bayraktars. And thirdly, a lot of Bayraktars are used as air reconnaissance vehicles, and we see their videos a little bit in different perspectives. That's why we're not seeing as many Bayraktars. Secular Sakai, do you believe Ukrainian politics and society will be more liberal or conservative by EU standards after the war ends? Same question for Sweden and Hungary, if you follow their affairs. Yes, Sweden, maybe not so much. Hungary, a little bit. Alice Stiebel, thanks for a great informative concern. You're welcome, my friend. Thank you so much for 200 Czech kronos. So, Ukraine, it's a difficult question. I thought about Ukraine, and I have many things to say Ukraine. Despite my thinking in my channel and so on, I don't think Ukraine is a perfect country. I think Ukraine struggled a lot with corruption. I think Ukrainians struggled a lot with their economy. I think Ukrainians struggled a lot with the way they've been presenting their country and the way that they've been running or disrupting the running of their businesses. I think there was a lot of unhealthy practices in Ukraine, and there is still, like, I can talk for days to describe what was wrong with Ukraine. That is one of the things. And I will continue. Thanks, Mark. Hungary is such a pain. Don't worry, Mark. And thanks so much for 2 months membership. Fox Voss, is Prigozhin less of a threat to Putin and Russian army if he can take Bakhmut, or will he blame it on the Russian army? Thanks for €6. I'll answer this question in a second. So, Ukraine has a lot of questions to answer for. What we need to understand that two things. First one, war is it's a binary switch. It's like when your country is in total war state, it's like switching on the switches, like nothing else matters. So whenever people are trying to talk, for example, what's the level of corruption, or like what was the last elections held in Ukraine, it's completely irrelevant because the country is being invaded. It's like once the war is over, then we can tick off the switch and talk about this. That is the first and very important point. If someone is trying to raise the importance of the question about how corrupt Ukraine is right now, that means only one thing. He is actively sabotaging Ukrainian credibility of Ukraine and essentially trying to paint a picture that, it doesn't matter that all these women and children are being killed. Just think about how corrupt this country is. That is completely unacceptable. That is way beyond any kind of levels of humanity that I can accept. And so once the war is over, yes, we can talk about how corrupt Ukraine is. And we can demand whatever, and that doesn't matter. And Ukraine is not that corrupt compared to everyone else. But that's a whole another point. Secondly, we need to understand that with this total war that started, the Ukraine that we knew before is gone. There is no Ukraine. What I said to my wife after about a week of the war, that we finally understood that Ukraine is not falling, that it's gonna doing quite well in the war, is that, Natalia, you will never visit your country again, because Ukraine that was pre-war does not exist anymore. Whatever comes out on the other end is a country of completely different people, is a country of completely different economy, is a country of completely different potential. And most importantly, it's a country of a different, completely different values. Ukraine, on the other end of this war, is a country that will be shaped. It's going to be completely new, but it can be shaped and influenced by a lot of us, the Western democracies. That's why it's very important that we also help Ukraine, because Ukraine is going to be looking very much to those democracies that supported her in this war to listen how Ukraine should be shaped. Ukrainians have also recognized themselves as actors, so they are also going to be shaping a lot of their country after that. That's why, for example, a threat of nationalism is so prevalent. But again, it's a question that should be addressed after the war. It should be something that would be addressed on the European level. Say, Ukraine, you want to join the European Union? Okay, let's get that nationalism in order. So there is plethora of ways where Ukraine can go for us, but we need to understand that it's now a tabula rasa. After the war is done, it's going to be a completely blank slate of what's going to happen with the country. And the fact that I know for a fact that a lot of money is expecting for Ukraine to finally win so they can send in all of the billions of dollars is just telling me that they're going to have the funds to do it. With regards to Sweden, and I think Sweden is taking a little bit more conservative turn, which is not bad. Denmark had a little bit of conservative turn as well. That country turned a little bit more inwards. Now it's a little bit more central. So I think it's just part of the balancing. Sweden has been leaning a lot of leftwise for a while now, and I think there is like some kind of counterbalance that now appeared in society. So I think Sweden will be fine. At least I hope so. Hungary is authoritarian regimes. Authoritarian regimes are neither right or left. They are following the authority, the person that is in charge. So until Orban is gone, I don't think there is going to be change for Hungary. So Fox was, is Prigozhin less of a threat to Putin and Russian army if he can take Bakhmut, or will he blame it on the Russian army? He was already blaming it on the Russian army. Because as far as I understood the counterbalance, right? We talked about that Prigozhin is a threat to Putin, but what they counterbalanced is saying essentially, okay, we're going to give you tanks, but it's going to be our shells that you're firing. It's going to be our fuel that you're using to drive those tanks. We're going to give you planes, but it's going to be our missiles on those planes. So Prigozhin is getting a lot of equipment for his military company, military army, especially heavy equipment, but it's based in Russian army. But he also, because of that, has the leverage. He can say, we just didn't have enough shells to succeed. It's all the Russian army. So I really think that he is really trying to paint a picture that he is this nice, successful guy, and it's all of the Russian military that just didn't give him a chance to be strong enough. Thanks for coffee, 28 bucks. I appreciate it. All right, questions that I missed. What does your Napa fellow looks like? It's on Twitter. You can check out my Twitter at Matters Ukraine. It's on my page. Can you sing us Bayraktar song? No. I cannot sing for like, if my life depended on it, I could have sing. The only time I sing is when I have my karaoke microphone and I'm very, very drunk. Sir Garrick, what do you think about the French tanks? Do you know if they need special French ammo? They have 105 millimeter shells that they're firing. As far as I understood, 105 millimeters is more or less standard ammo. So not the right man to ask. I'm not a weapons expert. I'm not a military expert, by the way. If you're following me because I'm a military expert, I'm not. Uh, I've just been following this war very, very closely, and I've been listening to a lot of military experts of the last year, and I've been reading a lot of books on military theory over the last year to catch up. But I've never studied anywhere. I don't have experience in military, so I just apply this thing, the glasses. A.G. Lahinska. Congratulations. After stream, if you search Kyiv Post for headlines, a top 10 pro-Ukraine YouTube warriors to guide you through 2023. Okay, I'm copying this. People said that I was not on the list at all. Yeah, I'm not on the list. So, as I said, yeah, I think you thought that I was, but it's insights from Ukraine and Russia. It's a different channel. It's not my channel. I'm not on the list. Okay, more questions. What does your Nafafel already talked about this? Explain Ukrainian Revolution of 2014. So Maidan Revolution started with, okay, how do I put it in a short perspective? So for a longer time, Ukraine was flip-flopping in between. Okay, no, that's wrong. Russian influence have been significant in Ukraine. They were able to paint the picture that the country is actually divided into something. Like, because Putin was essentially playing both parties, he tried to paint this picture that Ukraine is actually, there's like this Ukrainian Ukraine, and then there is this Russian Ukraine. Right, and importantly, like Russian Ukraine, not Russia Ukraine, like not what he's using right now. And essentially, there was in those regions a lot of oligarchs, and a lot of those oligarchs really liked Putin's money. So they basically formed a whole party around it that they poured a lot of money into, and they were able to brainwash a lot of Ukrainians, saying that, well, it's actually like there's such a big difference in between because like they're mostly using Ukrainian language on the west, and we're mostly speaking Russian here in the east. And that's where a lot of the factual divide. There was no other internal conflict in that sense in Ukraine. However, because pro-Russian oligarchs really liked the money of Putin, that's why they wanted to play a game with him, give us more money, and we're not going to go away. Whereas the population of Ukraine really wanted to join the Western world and essentially European Union. So when Yanukovych, the last person that was before the Poroshenko president, before 2014, came to power, he essentially said, I will get you to the European Union. I will sign the European Union, how do you say it? Not ascension agreement, but the association agreement. And in 2013, he didn't sign it. He said that instead of joining the European Union, not only I'm stopping negotiations to talk with them, I'm also giving a complete turn for the whole country and we're joining the Russian Union, because he got a lot of money from Putin. So when 2013, this caused a lot of pro-European students mostly, like young people, to come out to protest in Maidan. And it was a big protest, and it was lasting for like a couple of weeks, I think. And at some moment, like it started losing its drive. Like there was just like it was people already like started coming out less. It wasn't as massive. Some people just get tired because it was kind of cold. It was like November, December, if I recall correctly. And then Yanukovych, instead of listening what the protesters has to say, he basically pulled the Spetsnaz on them, like so-called Berkut. It was the Ukrainian Spetsnaz. And this Berkut basically kicked the living shit of the students. Like if you, for example, look up in YouTube right now, Maidan, 2013 students, Berkut, or like violence or something, you're going to find that a lot of them were having it really rough. Ivan Todorov, why is the NATO argument for the invasion invalid? I will get back to it once I finish with Maidan. Thank you so much for $14. So after that, regular people started coming up to Maidan saying, why did you beat up our people? Like, why did you beat up our kids? Just normal people. And instead of like listening to these new people that arrived, he again tried to put the police on them. And it worked for a day. But then the next day, they again came, and then they started resisting. And over this winter, there was a massive tug of war. And at some point, basically, Putin said, I'm going to give you, I think it was 15 billion loan, 15 billions in loan. But Yanukovych, you need to impose the laws that are essentially prohibiting freedom in Ukraine. Like, so they're still called the, how do you call, the anti-democratic, like authoritarian laws, essentially. And that authoritarian laws bill was basically like essentially turning Ukraine into almost autocracy. And then he also said that you need to like literally get rid of this Ukrainian forces. That's when the guns came out. That's when they started really beating up and humiliating protesters. They also started like shooting live ammunition. That's where first people got killed on the Maidan. And after that, it was a complete blowout. Like that, at that moment, everyone understood it's the revolution or not. And at that moment, basically, Putin started spinning it's a violent regime overtake, therefore we must take Crimea. Well, not us. All those green men that are actually not Russians, they just kind of, speak Russian and stuff, yada, yada. So it's a long story. But the point is that it started with a small student protest. They got beaten up. Normal people got beaten up. Then they protested. At some Putin said, I'm going to give you money if you get rid of these protesters. And Yanukovych said, that sounds like a good idea. And then he understood it wasn't a good idea. And then they ran, and he ran. That's the short of it. Wait, when is this drunk karaoke stream again? You wish. Okay, why is the NATO argument invalid for invasion? Very, very simple. Because NATO is not expanding. Like the whole argument is like the argument of NATO expansion. Putin was afraid that NATO is going to come to his border, that Ukraine is going to join NATO. Therefore, he invaded the country. So where do I start? It's such a bad argument. The countries don't get absorbed by NATO. Right? So when we say NATO expansion, it's a very bad formulation for NATO, because while it's true that NATO as an organization is expanding, that is a true statement, it is also misleading, because what happens is democratic countries, or at least countries that have the ability to be somewhat democratic, because it requires a vote. The countries that require a vote to join NATO, they ask to join NATO. NATO is a defensive alliance. It's a place where people come for protection. So when we say Ukraine wanted protection, because like the whole argument, when you rephrase it this way, right, it just makes sense for you. Because the argument, I'll repeat it, Russia was afraid that Ukraine will join NATO, and therefore it attacked Ukraine. And if we rephrase it, it's like Ukraine wanted more defense for its country and sovereignty. So to not give that defense to Ukraine, Russia decided to preventively invade and occupy that country. In that perspective, the argument kind of starts losing its bite, so to say. Secondly, it's the factuality of the fact that it was a completely bad faith argument is just the fact that once Finland and Sweden declared that they want to join NATO, Russia pulled all their troops from the border of those countries and sent them to fight in Ukraine. Like, because like the border right now between Finland and Sweden and Russia is almost non-existent. Wait, is Sweden bordering Russia? I know Norway is, but is Sweden? Okay, my geography might not know. But the point is that, like, at least Finland, let's take Finland. Finland is joining NATO. It's the biggest border with any country, I think, in Europe that Russia has. Maybe Ukraine is bigger. But as soon as Finland says we're joining NATO against Russia, and Russia says, oh yeah, cool, we're pulling the troops out of there. So Russia knows, like, it just shows the bad faith. Russia knows that NATO is not going to attack it because, wow, now you spent all of your troops in Ukraine. What a great time for NATO to attack. But Russia knows that it won't. So because NATO is a defensive alliance, it's not attacking anyone. And so when you say that Ukraine wanted to defend itself and then Russia invaded, well, maybe there was a good reason why Ukraine wanted to defend itself. Maybe you should not invade your neighbors if you don't want them to join military alliances. So I hope that explains it. All right. Okay, many missed questions because I went on a long brag as always. French tanks, we talked about that. The NAFO fellow, we talked about that. Drunk karaoke stream, yes. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe at 100,000. Probably not. Secular Sakai, do you believe the Moldova Transnistria issue will flare after the war is over? I mean, Moldova has the ability to resolve it right now. Like, we need to understand that nothing can stop Moldova from resolving this conflict right now. If Moldova says, Ukraine, please help, Ukraine says, will do, and just get rid of that. Because that's a Russian enclave that is just there. So Moldova's balls are yet to drop. So until they have the will to resolve this conflict, it's not going to get resolved. And the population within Moldova is also very split. They have had a lot of Russian influence and a lot of Russian dirty money in their country. So they're having big troubles dealing with this war. Edgy Lonska, no, then you should be. Pseudo congratulations to you, Ukraine matters. You do a heck of a lot of Ukraine. I hope so. Tony Ottenson, Ukraine matters. Do you think Norway would have been in danger if not member of NATO? No, I don't think Norway is like first on the list. Like, I think there's plenty of other countries that Putin wants before Norway. It's definitely, it would be Ukraine, Moldova, Kazakhstan, Baltics, probably like all of the Middle Asian countries. Armenia, Azerbaijan, Georgia finished the job. So no, I don't think Norway would be on the priority list. Donald Trump, when you finally get to Vegas, I got bail money. Slav Ukraine. Thanks. Martyrs. Okay, Martyrs I actually have in my list of topics that I must go through today. And Martyrs, the answer is very simple. I'll believe it when I see it. In your opinion, what would be the best aircraft transfer for Ukrainian Air Force? So, Lurking Carrier, thanks so much for the question. I've read up about this from the aircraft enthusiasts and experts, and they say that F-16 would be really nice for Ukraine. Especially if they are allowed to use Polish airfields. That would be the best option. But we see. Adamantium, thanks so much for 5 gifted memberships. Thank you. Oh, I have read all of the questions. Remember, guys, if you want to ask me the question, remember to add at Ukraine Matters so I see your questions. So, wow, Ellie, Ellie, you got a membership. Congrats. Nice. I mean, like, let's give a hands, guys, please. Can you say congratulations and thanks to Ellie in chat um, for moderating all of this and bumping trolls for a while now. So big thanks for that. Okay. Transnistria, but I just talked about Transnistria. Like, if Moldova decides Transnistria to be dealt with, then it would be dealt with. And until Moldova decides on it, Ukraine is not going to act on Transnistria. So it's going to be a bleeding wound for that country until forever. Would Transnistria fall and trigger Russian invasion that Moldova cannot manage until they... Russia cannot invade Moldova. Russia cannot invade Moldova. There is no possibility for Russia to invade Moldova. Russia is too far from Moldova. To get to Moldova, Russia needs to get through Ukraine, and they're not very fast with that. I'm not sure if you noticed. They're taking Bakhmut for the 8th month. Well, okay, 6th month. And Bakhmut is like, what, 2,000 kilometers away from, like 1,000 kilometers away from Moldova. Anas Broby, would it be a mistake to take Luhansk before Crimea? Is there a risk Western countries think it's good enough that the Russians can keep Crimea? I mean, it doesn't matter what Western countries think about Crimea. Ukraine is taking it back. That's something we need to, like, it's a baseline. Like, there's like, Ukraine is taking back Crimea. It's not really a question. I think Crimea will be first because it's an easier military operation than taking the Luhansk city. If Russians will be stubborn enough to defend Luhansk, it might be quite a tough job. It might require a lot of resources, a lot of manpower. A siege of a huge city is really bad. It's really, really bad. Taking Crimea is a lot better. Secular Sakai, thanks so much for $4 if I told it. My cat's pet human. Nice. What will happen to Ukraine's security after the war if Hungary and or Turkey vote against letting Ukraine join NATO? First baseline, the countries that didn't want Ukraine in NATO were France and Germany. Just so we're keeping the record straight, it was not Hungary and Turkey. I know we like to put blame on Hungary and Turkey because they're the lame ducks in this, well, not lame ducks, but like they're the bad guys in this conflict. But I think if Russia defeated, there is little to no arguments that they can make. But in any case, Ukraine will be very, very close to NATO, almost de facto. And that's why Zelensky is proposing the security guarantees for Ukraine once the war is over. So I think maybe if in the future there's going to be a process like for a while for Ukraine to join NATO and EU, I believe that Ukraine will still have enough guarantees to secure its independence until they will join actually. Should the West or someone help the Belarus people be liberated? It's a good question. I believe in a nation's strive for freedom. I believe that nations should have the resolve to fight for their freedom. And you cannot bring freedom because at that moment you devalue it significantly. What is happening is Ukraine is basically the fight for freedom for them. They're finally putting it. I am still not certain. With Belarus, I'm almost certain that they would fight for it, especially because so many Belarusians do fight in Ukrainian military. Maybe if they would start some activities, we should support them, but I don't think that someone should bring it forcefully into Belarus. I really believe in nation's own fight. Nation needs to have an awakening, and I one, like, despite me seeing the first awakening of the Belarusian people, we need to see more. We need to see the fact that they want to fight it against violence. So far, we haven't seen it. We've seen peaceful protests, yes, but you cannot fight peacefully against violent regimes. That just like doesn't work. I mean, though, weakened regimes, they tend to also have enough holes for them that even peaceful protests might work. So maybe Belarus will find its way through this. How long will it take for Ukraine to build up again? I think about a decade, 15 years, and it's going to be a very prosperous European country. How should Ukraine deal with collaborators? They should be judged after the land is liberated. Example, teachers, that's a big deal in France after WW2 and become ugly rapidly. Yeah, I think they need to be prosecuted by the law. There is a law of collaboration and treason to country, and so they should be prosecuted as criminals. They broke the Ukrainian law, collaborated with the enemy. Hoko 90. Dennis mentioned yesterday about a positive massive mobilization for a last gasp attempt on Kyiv. Do you think this attempt is likely? There are three options. So there are three options that are being discussed. Basically, an attempt on Kyiv is considered the dumbest option. Like, can they do it? Yes. I mean, Putin can do whatever he wants. It's his army. It's his people that are ready to die for him, for king and country. So, can he do it? Yes. But is it smart? Not really. Because the next attempt, the 200,000 people, whatever, it's not enough. It's nearly not enough to go anywhere near Kyiv. They're just going to get died. So if he does this, that's the worst thing he can do for Russian military. So I would encourage him to do it, because in that way he would just throw away a lot of people. I'm a little bit scared because that's where my relatives live. So I mean, yes and no. But as essentially the general perspective strategy, yes. Second option, if they would focus, for example, on taking Kharkiv and the rest of Donbass, and that's an option. It's going to be a tough fight, but I still don't think it's enough. Like, because the quality of the troops is not there. Like 200,000, like you cannot expect to take, like, Kharkiv is war. How many people live in Kharkiv? Is it 1 million? Is it 2 million? Kharkiv, a city of where's my facts? Population 1.5 million. Well, okay, let's take people who escaped the war, yada yada. Let's say 1.1 million. So it's a million people city. I mean, even if just men in that city just take up arms as a territorial defense force, even without Ukrainian military, it's still a couple of hundred of thousands. I already see that Kharkiv can fight. So it's not nearly enough to take the city of Kharkiv. So it's going to be a bloody battle, but I don't expect them to succeed. And finally, the third option is that they concentrate their forces to retake Donbass. Like maybe attack Kupiansk, Liman again, Izium, focus around Svatove or something. Like, imagine if right now like 100,000 Russian troops arrive to Svatove. That's not going to be pretty. So at that moment, I believe that maybe they will be able to take Bakhmut. Maybe they would be able to, retake half of Kupiansk, maybe push to Liman, something like this. So they would be able to regain some of their lost territory. But in the end, it would not matter. Just because the capabilities of Ukrainian forces are so strong right now compared to what the war started, that this additional 200,000, they don't really make that much difference. And besides, we know that Ukraine is not engaging a lot of their troops that are supposed to be in the offensive. So the only thing that it will bring, obviously, for Putin, he wants a standstill, and I think that's the next attempt of attack will just bring a standstill. All right. Roland Carlos, thanks for $10. No question. Tom Wright, do you plan to support Ukraine with the post-war rebuilding process? What would be the best way of supporting that process as an outsider, outside of advocating of government EU investments? I mean, business. Like, you want to make millions. Like, you know where people get their hundreds of thousands, millions, billions? It's usually post-war, post-conflicts. If you want to support Ukraine and you have the capabilities, invest. Investing, even small investments in a small business, is going to be big gains, because on destroyed land grows pretty much anything. That's going to be pretty much every businessman. So it's going to be like a gold rush, I'm expecting, with Ukraine. And it will be, because pretty much all types of businesses will start growing very rapidly. Ukraine is going to develop within years significantly, because a lot of things have been shut down. And especially something that is closely to like any kind of building materials, whatever, it's going to be through the roof. And besides, European Union, Ukraine is joining European Union, so also EU investment money is there. So any kind of development business of the country's economy is also there. So if you want to support Ukraine after the war, just invest, dude. It's like you're going to be rich. And besides, you're going to invest in Ukraine to rebuild. That's just going to be the best thing to do. It's like a win-win. It's like a, I don't even know how to say. It's the easiest bet in your life. Like, take the money that you're not, you're completely okay of losing, or maybe even half okay of losing, and just invest, and you're gonna get it back. I'm pretty much guaranteeing it, but not a financial advisor, whatever. Thingy. Do you think Russia will collapse over the war within 2 years? And I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. Okay, missed a lot of questions. Let me get back to these questions, and then I need to finish reading my thoughts. What's the time? Oh my God, 1:25. I would like to finish today, not a 3-hour stream, but fit it within 2 hours. But it's definitely nice. How are we doing? We are 1,200, by the way. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing the stream, for providing links to the stream everywhere. I appreciate it. I see that you're doing it. Okay, Scholz and Biden just confirmed Bradleys and martyrs for Ukraine. When I see it, I believe it. Awesome HPT, what are your thoughts on these rumors about Russia launching another offensive? I just talked about this. Jerry, will Ukraine honor the January 6th ceasefire that Putin said? Oh my God. Okay, we said when we started the stream, there was no one that believed that the Russia proposed ceasefire in good faith, and apparently we found one. Jerry, you're the one. So, Jerry, please subscribe to my channel so you get all the information. No, Putin is not proposing a ceasefire in good faith, and it's a complete hypocrisy. What is he proposing? It's a propaganda move. So no one is ceasefire. Dog Vegan Paradise. Dog Vegan Paradise. Do you have any info on how newly NATO-trained troops are integrated in the existing army structure? Are they grouped together or divided over existing units? Mostly existing units, but Ukraine did make 2 new. It was not brigades. It was like bigger than brigade. It was like oh my God, it's escaping me. Was it divisions? I don't know if it was divisions, but basically something that's bigger than brigade and so on. So they made 2 new ones of the freshly trained troops. Search joint press statement follow a call between President Joe Biden and the Chancellor of Federal Republic Germany, Olaf Scholz. Thank you so much, Jakub. I will Google that. Thanks so much for the guys. If you really want me to follow up on something, okay, let's do this. Oh, wow. Oh, now you see chat. Oh, that's nice. Okay, you see it? You see it? You should see it. What do you see? No, you see stream. That's not what you're supposed to see. You should see this. No. 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 Yes. There we go. All right. Let's read it together. Okay, I missed a lot of questions, guys, so I'll repeat it again if you want me really to answer it. Okay, President Joseph Biden, Chancellor spoke by phone, expressed their common determination, yada yada, yada yada. State intends to supply Ukraine with Bradley. Okay. 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 Okay, that's a statement. That is a statement. And it's White House, yeah? I mean, it doesn't get more official than this. Yeah, this is great. This is the news that I like. Wow, I mean, this stream. So let me answer then this stream's question. Like, I know that what would be a good question to ask you? Oh, that was good. Deoxyribonucleic acid. Thank you so much for what would be a good question to ask me. I don't know. Let me pull some kind of questions and then see if you. So I have a statement here that I said that we need to discuss about Marder. So now we know that Marder and Bradleys are coming to Ukraine. That is big deal, guys. That is a big deal. Now Bradleys, they get a lot of bad word of mouth, but it's mostly misrepresented. A lot of like actual analysts and like people with experience have been saying that Bradley is a very formidable force. And Bradley has shown itself to be very capable against Russian tanks. That's kind of his signature move. Now, Russia has a lot of tanks. Maybe Russia should have a little bit less tanks. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, APCs is what is one of the parts that Zaluzhny mentioned. Zaluzhny said more artillery, more infantry fighting vehicles, more tanks. This is the third, like 1/3. Like again, the question is always how many, right? If it's 10 or 20, then it's kind of like if we're talking hundreds, then it's perfect. If Ukraine gets supplied, I don't know, 500 Bradleys and Marders, I'm pretty sure then it's going to be pretty much a game over for the Russians. Because that's a huge mechanization force. Ukraine is struggling because their troops don't have the mechanization capabilities. And they need them, really need them. Because they have a lot of men. They don't have those men to be equipped with the support vehicles and so on. If the support vehicles are available, then whatever Ukraine is doing is just going to get multiplied. So that is really good. Really, 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 really good. Yeah. I mean, like any tanks, Grayson, any tanks, just any. Like it doesn't even matter at this moment, like which tanks, just any tanks. Even Soviet tanks are good. Just send more of them. Like someone said, like, oh, what about T-55s from Slovenia? It doesn't matter. Any tanks. Hi from Guyana. Whoa, nice. Welcome. What percentage of captured Russian supplies are being used actively by Ukrainian force? Quite a lot. Quite a lot. I've seen plenty of recordings where, like, like there was T-90Ms. I already saw being used by the Russians, but the concrete percentage I cannot tell you. Have you seen the latest piece of translated Russian propaganda and Russian media matters? It's hysterical. I mean, Russian propaganda is always hysterical. The problem is, think about it this way: a lot of us here have discovered this propaganda only now. So for a lot of people, especially in the West, we've started looking at Russia with these kind of like, glasses off, finally, pink glasses off, as like, oh my God, Russia is so shit, actually. The problem is, like, I come from Baltics. This is how we've seen Russia always. We've seen the propaganda that they were spewing all the time because we listened. So for the Baltics and a person like me, it's really nothing new. So whenever I'm looking at propaganda, I was like, I've seen that statement like 10 years ago, but it shows just some other country that they were talking about. Very often, very, very often. They say, oh my God, there's like Nazis, fascists, like they're eating children, whatever. And it's like, oh, now it's just a new country. So they like, very often it just doesn't change. And a lot of people are just very excited because they're discovering it for the first time. And I appreciate it. I appreciate that we finally see Russia for what it is. And I'm happy to essentially spread. Like a lot of the things that I'm talking about here on this channel is not even me actually, like I don't need to come up with any kind of situations or try to nitpick. Like a lot of what Russia does is pretty much on the surface. And like my job is basically just to kind of bring it up and say, hey guys, did you also know this? And then it's like, whoa. So wait, so Putin was not a great strategist all along. Like in all his career, he was actually a cowardly bastard and bully. Yes, and he was. And that's pretty much like the majority of my job. And also yelling at the map. That's also what I do. So I'm really excited that the world is finally seeing Russia for what it is. And I would really want that we have this image of Russia and how it tricked the West, especially in the Western mentality. Because if we're united with the West and the Baltic countries and everything, then nothing can stop us. The worst thing we can do is we can believe that Putin is trying to be some kind of an honest interlocutor. He's not. And in that sense, I just hope for a different Russia. And I hope that with Putin and now us seeing, we're gonna take this as a baseline that we will not have a Russia like this anymore. Or any other country. Marco Kashina, don't you think in 1-2 months Ukraine will attack south, but in Donbass the front line will be closer to Kramatorsk? Because Apini felt what I read not sure, and Soledar looks bad. No, Soledar is fine. Bakhmut is fine. Ukraine will attack as soon as they can. That's what I'm expecting. Yeah, Todor, Georgie, coffee date on Kherson this summer. Maybe, yeah, maybe, yeah, maybe. I was thinking to go to Kherson. Especially, I needed to go to Mykolaiv because Denmark promised that they will rebuild Mykolaiv. So, as a person from Denmark, I really want to jump on the the promise wagon and come to Mykolaiv and talk with people in Mykolaiv and maybe find someone that we can connect to, so we can find essentially an investment partner or a business partner to start some kind of activity in Mykolaiv once the war is over. It's President Zelensky, when he was like looking how to rebuild Ukraine. You can Google like Zelensky Denmark rebuild Mykolaiv, and you will find. John Hooter, Reuters reporting 50 Bradleys for Ukraine 20 minutes ago. Yeah, 50 is a good start. It's about 200 short, so a good start. 50 Bradleys is a good start, but it's 200 short of what would be a normal amount. So it's a good start. Mikao Moskalyunets, Dark Brandon, strong arm Schultz to the right thing. Yes. I mean, I guess Zelensky's visit to US didn't go in vain. So good. Okay. Kevin Priest. So will you post more on Twitter to help promote your channel and views? Just saying you should. I'm really bad with social media. Kevin, like, this is my weakness. Like, I've never strived to be like a social person or like a socially active person. Like the fact that I'm YouTuber and I like to talk with you guys and I talk like to talk at camera, it doesn't make me like excellent at really managing social media. I'm barely struggling with my Patreon. I don't know what to do there. And also like so like also managing Twitter for me is like it's hard. I I'm really thinking maybe I should figure out something like how do I do professionally and so on. So like in me, like how could you say? I like doing things the right way, right? This is something that I do with my job, my primary job a lot. I like when the jobs are done properly. So if I'm doing this job, I also would like to do this job properly. So I see like so many issues with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, like how I can improve and so on. And I'm very unhappy about it. Like I'm feeling very, very bad about this. But I also know that it's a lot of investment for me how to realize this and so on. And I still am not completely sure if this is my hobby still or like I'm actually a YouTuber now. But I can tell you like this, every stream that we're having, every conversation that we're having, and every response that I get from you guys, I'm edging closer and closer to starting treating this with the respect that it deserves. Just because at my main job, there is a lot of people that are dependent on me, and I cannot just fail them. I cannot fail the people that are dependent on my work at my primary job. With that said, there is also you. And as we kind of go along, you also become in that kind of like interdependent state that you're expecting a certain level of quality and a certain level of involvement from me. And I feel that. And I want to give good returns on that as well. What I'm afraid to is promising and giving something that I cannot sustain. And to answer the question simply, I will try. Let's put it this way. Dennis Jespersen, see Ultimate Ukraine for today about the Bayraktar can be shut down, okay? Dutch Wok, we need to know which main gun of the Bradley. Yeah, we see. Kellen Dunn, Putler called for 36-hour ceasefire on Christmas Orthodox. Is this a trick? Who knows? Who knows if this is a trick? I mean, of course it wasn't good faith. Why would Putin lie? He never lies. Daryl Smelser, is that same article about Bradley's Olaf Scholz agreed to send a Patriot battery? No, Daryl, about the martyrs, it's there is a message on the White House page from the joint press statement following the call with Biden and Scholz. So it's a real deal. This time it's not just something serious. Does Russia still have enough fighting vehicles to support new invasion? Yes. Russia still has a lot of equipment. Do you follow Paul Mansara? Yes, Masara, yes. His opinion about Russia Putler has been spot on for years. Exactly, yes. Bakhmut is fine. That is indeed true, Taz. Have you checked the latest update on the deep state map? The Russians seem to made a rather big advancement north of Bakhmut. I mean, I've told you that there are fights. I haven't seen it yet. Let me see. But I've told you that there are fights happening there, and Russia is putting pressure around Solidar. Yeah. Exactly. Like this is exactly where I talked to you. Remember? Remember, I draw to you like last video. I told you that Russia is looking to strike Solidar here. It's on my thumbnail, I think even, and like from three directions. That's literally what we're seeing. So, am I reporting correct or not? So, yeah, just to kind of prove the point. Yeah, so Solidar is a big fight. It's a big fight. So there's a pretty rough stuff happening there. Not know how many martyrs. We don't know. You're a social butterfly. Yeah, that's true. I think socials are part of your life or should be. Not so much for me. Not a big social person. Thank you so much for kind words, guys. Georgie, I found you niche talent with this YouTube channel, very knowledgeable about war geopolitics. I mean, I wasn't, but I became. So, you wrong about Bayraktar and their Russian anti-air. See Ultimate Ukraine for today. Okay, I will see it after. Germany is giving Marder an additional Patriot missile system. That would be nice. Prioritize your work. You don't need to eat, and you need to have the work even the war is over. Um, Larsman, or Lar 5 man. I don't know how to pronounce it. Sorry. So my job, I'm very comfortable. Like I have a very good career. I'm not dependent. If I quit my job today, I will be able to find any job otherwise. I like my job because I like it. Like I just like doing it. And I really like people at my company. I really like the company that I'm working at. So it's not just the money and the money aspect. It's more about the fact that people are dependent on me. But thanks for concern. Roman Stinger, the most important that you provide that people expect thoughts and reasoning. Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks, Shells. Daryl Smell said, you understood my earlier comment. Haha. In addition to the Bradleys and Martyrs, all of us agreed to send a Patriot. Yeah, I understood it now. Thanks. Yeah, thanks. How many Ukrainian troops are in Solidar versus Russian troops? I don't report on that. I don't report on quantities of the Ukrainian troops, but I'm not completely sure as well. I do know that some additional troops have been sent that way. Kalendan, with Germany, I hold my breath until the weapons are actually delivered. Fair enough. Dennis Jespersen, the Russian hit Bayraktar with the S-300. They thought it was down, but it landed later by itself because S-300 exploded by impact, but Bayraktar was too soft. Nice. Uh, why has no one put a gun on a drone? I'm pretty sure someone put a gun on drones, but it's kind of like it's people use what is it called, the grenades, because it's more impactful. All right. I talked about this. I talked about this. I talked about this. Two things. I need to give two shout outs, guys. Two very, 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 very important shout outs because both of them are benefiting Ukraine in a big, big way. And I've been known for criticizing those two shout outs. First one, a shout out to President Macron and France. And I know, people already told me today that yes, he's just talking, talk is cheap, yada, yada, yada. But I cannot deny that he has been on a very significantly upwards trends in his realizations about Putin and the war. And I gotta say, a lot of time his proposals are coming from a wrong angle, but they're not unreasonable. Like, for example, the proposal of giving Putin, how do we say, what is it called, the security guarantees. We all understand, I hope, which angle it comes from. It's like, because he wants to do good. He wants to do good for Ukraine, for like, Putin, get out of Ukraine. We're going to protect you from the coup or whatever not from something else. Was the proposal. And it's in a good faith proposal. It's just a little bit silly. So, but over the months of this war, Macron has definitely shown a big growth in his perspective of Russia, the war, and himself. And I would like to credit both him, the French government, and the French people for increasing support to Ukraine over the months, and especially as we have started 2023 and a little bit before. A lot of deliveries that France is doing are not announced. A lot of them are happening unspokenly through the other means. I sometimes hear of them, but most of them are extremely, extremely under the table. So for the unyielding support that France gives and the positive tendency to understand finally where Ukraine is going, I believe that requires a recognition, and we should recognize and give thanks to that. That is one thing. Second thing, something that I do get a lot of shit for. Whenever I criticize Russians, and especially Russian opposition, I always say they don't do enough. I always say that whatever their pacifist flan and expectations of Russia just completely falling into their laps once the war is over and Putin's regime is defeated, and I know a lot of people are having very, very strong thoughts about this. But I want to give a shout out and a big recognition to people that actually do matter. In Russia, in the last couple of weeks and months, the resistance movement has been growing significantly. We don't know completely for certain if that's a grouped resistance movement or is it just individuals in Russia that are fighting against Putin's regime. But their work that they're doing has been increasing significantly. So they are sabotaging the rails, they are burning the weapons facilities and so on. And they are reporting data to Ukrainians. And for that, I think we need to recognize that there are people in Russia that are actually risking their lives and fighting this awful regime. So that's why I want to say that big thanks to them for fighting for Ukraine and obviously for Russia as well. I believe that these people are what should be considered the Russian opposition, but they are not public because probably they don't want to be right now very public, especially if they're inside Russia. They didn't decide to run, they didn't decide to flee, they decided to fight. And I can only respect that. So to them, I give the proper shout out and know that we see that what you're doing, and everyone is definitely trying to support you as much as we can. So I think those should be the people that help rebuild post-war Russia, maybe. All right, that's the two shout-outs that I must give, especially the second one. They would fall out a window. I mean, 8-story windows in Russia becoming like one of the highest killers. Do you watch the 1420 YouTube channel now? I just like, sometimes I see people that are answering and I would just want to punch them in the face. So sometimes I try, let's put it this way. This war is going to end at some point. What your blog on after the war ends? Guys, gotta be honest, I think I'm just gonna run a stream and we're gonna have an honest conversation about what we should do. But let's hope that this happens sooner than later. So we're gonna have an honest conversation. I'm gonna tell you openly, like I've always been very honest on this channel, just like speaking, like people say that I'm blunt, but I'm just saying what I think. So I'm just going to be explaining and saying like how I feel, what I think, and so on, and then you can suggest something else, and then maybe we can find some kind of a middle ground, and then find out something that works for us. I don't know. We'll see. We'll talk at that moment. Yeah, one at a time, precisely. Starsky is live in 20 minutes, just for info. Is he live now, or do we still have time? Because I think what we can do, I can keep you up here until Starsky is live, and then I will forward you all to the Starsky's channel, and then we can rate him and yeah, send our greetings. Let me see if Starsky is live or not. Starsky. No, Starsky is not live. Yes, 15 minutes. Starsky is live in 15 minutes. Perfect. So let's have this stream for 15 minutes more. Let's talk. And then I'll send you over to the Starsky stream. I lost my chat. Sorry. There we go. Great idea. I know, right? Making video about rebuilding Ukraine. Dutch was, sorry, yes. Yes, this is definitely something I'm thinking about. Like, there's plenty of reasons, like, for what to do with Ukraine. Like, I said I want to participate in some business in rebuilding Ukraine. I was thinking, maybe doing like this live streams, was like how our business is doing, like what are we doing for Ukraine and so on. Maybe doing some kind of charities and so on. Again, participation, because uh, this is definitely. Magic Bullet, thanks so much for 2 months. You're most gracious in your shoutouts. Blunt is good to the point. Yeah, yeah. That's just how we are. We're the Baltics. We don't. We're really bad with small talk. Really bad. I'm terrible with small talk. Oh my God. This is actually something that's hindering my corporate career. Funny enough, one of my biggest challenges at work is not my professional competence. It's actually the small talk in between it. It's the talk at canteen. It's like when you go to eat, like because people start talking about, football. I don't fucking watch football, and it's really hard for me sometimes. I cannot small talk. Yeah, yeah. What? Okay, Angry Viking 76. Do you think Russia will start the northern offensive, build Belarus? I hope Russia will start northern offensive for Belarus. We already talked just a little bit before. Angry Viking, you can rewind just a little bit. But the short answer is, if they do it, that's the best outcome that they can do, because they will just send more troops to completely useless attempt and just get them killed with little to no problems to Ukraine. That would be the best outcome that Russia can do. How to utilize, or let's put it, uh, how do you say, remove Russian troops from. I was like, better their troops. Let's put it this way. Uh, Dennis Jesperson, Ukraine matters. You're still wrong about Bayraktar and Russian air defense. See Ultimate Ukraine. I know. I already told you, Dennis, that I will look at it after the stream. I'm repeating. I am explaining about Bayraktars what I've heard from the analysts that I follow. People that I follow with military experience that have been covering this topic, they have been talking about why don't we see the more Bayraktars videos. And I've explained why don't we see more Bayraktar videos. If they were wrong, I am also wrong. I've been wrong on this channel before. I will be wrong in this channel again. That's how it is. There is no ultimate truth. Like, knowing everything on the war, no one knows that. If a person says, like, I'm an analyst, I know everything, he's lying to you. Usually it's like, matters someone. I think any new offensive by Russia will start in the west towards Lviv to cut off west supplies. Your thoughts? Uh, I mean, if it's Kiev or Lviv, both of those are extremely dumb. Like, extremely dumb for the Russians. So if they attack Kiev or they attack Lviv, both of those are destined to fail. So I am not worried about the northern offensive, period. Yeah, yeah, Ukraine attack from Belarus. Yes, yes, great idea. Let's promote this idea and say yes, Russians should attack from the north. Yes. Do not change small talk is because they have no idea what they are talking about. Maybe. No, Ukraine already said that they are not going to hit territory of Belarus. They've been very clear about this. Two things that Ukraine, in no uncertain term, well, three things. First things, they will not attack the territory of Belarus in any capacity. Second, they will not invade Russia proper territory. Though there has been discussions lately, but generally speaking, that has been kind of the motto. And third, Ukraine is going to retake all of the territories of Ukraine and not give an inch to the Russians. Those three things are pretty much rock solid. Yeah, Pinsk marshes are like the the territory there is not very nice. It's not very good. Yeah, what a great idea to roll tanks alongside the Polish border. What can go wrong? Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me just roll these tanks just along Polish borders, you know. Yeah. Yeah, corruption is a difficult topic because like in all of the developed countries, the levels of corruptions are like are considered are considerable. Like some countries, it might push like 15-20%. That's a lot. That's a lot of income. That's a lot of money that's not just being accounted for. The fact that just because we live in a lot of capitalistic societies and so on, and our level of corruption is like, and our corruption is like more fancy and like, squeaky clean because they clean up after themselves. What was it recently? Okay, no, I'm not going to call politics in America because it's a bad deal. But the point is, there are politicians even that are not having a lot of their money disclosed. Even in Europe, we have a lot of like a recent scandal in Europe where they're taking money from Qatar. Like it's a multi-million billion activity of corruption. So it's everywhere. It's like, so whenever people say it's like, well, Ukraine was so corrupt, it's like, yeah, yeah, but like everyone is. It's like the fact that Ukraine just didn't have any help to work through it, and like a lot of that corruption was essentially promoted by Russia and Russia's influence, and it was not fought against. Well, that's the problem. And again, Ukraine is going to become a whole new country right after the war, so it's going to be from a blank slate start. So it's going to be a great opportunity for, if you want less corruption in Europe, to actually help build Ukraine in a way that is going to be less corruption. Verdego, is there any way to foment rebellion in Belarus with the exiles to give a second front or additional rebellions in other bordering republics with diluted Russian attention? I don't think that Belarus should, like, I already told you that I don't think we should do that. I think that we shouldn't try to bring democracy. I don't think we should try to bring in something. It was actually a very good argument by Jake Bro in the recent conversation with Paul Mansaro, saying it's like, well, if the West would started supplying weapons to Ukraine, then everyone would just saying that Russia was just provoked by the West for supplying weapons to Ukraine and therefore attacked. So it's a valid argument in the same way. It's like if you start some kind of like a resistance movement in Belarus, then it maybe gives Lukashenko all the rights to repress everyone and use the Russian military in the Belarus to squander everything and just turn it into a completely totalitarian state and join Russia because there has been like some kind of resistance. So I think if that honestly happens, it should happen from Belarusians themselves in the first place. So I'm not completely certain that this is something that we should be actively looking to work for against. Belarus and Belarusian people have not been part of this war yet. Lukashenko and his machine apparatus was, but not Belarusian people. If we involve Belarusian people in this, it's going to be a very different situation. Tom Wright, Russia promoted quite a bit of corruption in the West over the years. Oh, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, just like Paul Mansaro on Jake Bro's last podcast talked like really in details. And again, I was really surprised just how much Paul Mansaro understands the perspectives of the West and Russian influence on the West. I was very, very surprised. They're blaming the West anyway. I mean, yes, but not Russians. The argument of Jake was that if U.S. would give weapons and Russia would attack, then there might be Ukrainians that would have blamed the West. It's like, why did you gave us all of these weapons for Russia to attack? So that was the argument. I think it's a little bit silly, but it's still an argument. No, no, yeah, Elena, no, no, no. It was that Ukrainians would blame the West, not the Russians. The Russians blame any. we should not care what Russians say or do. The only thing we should be caring about what Russians say is do is like get out of Ukraine. It's like get out. You want a ceasefire for 36 hours? Get out of Ukraine. That's it. That's how you get a ceasefire. Get out of Ukraine. Ceasefire, and then we can have ceasefire, and then we can have talks, and then you can have whatever you want. Get out of Ukraine. Hi, Georgie. Keep it tight. I will. Explosive dolphins. Yeah, yeah. Oh my God. Kalinovsky Regiment. I mean, Kalinovsky Regiment. They already said that after the war is done, they will. They had a good interview about this, and he basically said what I just said. He said that if Belarusian people, and I'm quoting him, basically said that if Belarusian people would like to would after the war ends, would like to get rid of Lukashenko, then he and his regiment, or was it someone else, but someone of the Belarusian leaders, regiment leaders, he said that then he and his regiment would gladly support it, right? But he said that he also still doesn't see that Belarusian people has the same will to fight and resist as Ukrainians. So that's not my words, actually. That is from the actual guy. I actually forgot what his name was. He's one of the most famous Belarusian resistance fighters that fights in Ukraine. I'm pretty sure you know him. At least some of you know. Would Ukraine strike Russian on Belarusian territory? No, no. Ukraine said already they will not strike the Belarusian territory. Have you seen Inside Russia YouTube channel last stream? Really good to see. No, I haven't followed his stream. I haven't followed the stream, but maybe I should because I'm not sure if you read. There is this. Oh, wrong one. How about now? Do you see it now? Yeah, you see it now. So there is this list of 10 YouTubers you should follow that can tell you about Ukraine. And there is Artur Rehi, then there is Denis Davidov, then there is Operator Starsky, Anna from Ukraine, Perun, and Jake Bro, and Johnny FD, and Combat Veteran Reacts, and Insights from Russia and Ukraine, and Vlad Vexler. So these are the guys that apparently can help you out. As you can see, I'm not here, so I cannot help you out with anything. And because Inside Russia is not here as well, so I guess he can't you as well. How did I turn it all on the head? Jokes aside. No. I'm a very small channel, so it's I don't expect any recognition. I was just surprised that when some of you mentioned it, it was just very, very, very hilarious that someone would. Magic Bullet, thanks for $20. I appreciate it. I mean, Rhonda, thanks so much for giving so much of yourself. I don't know how to be someone else. Like, I think if I would be an actor, I would be shit. Ability of actors is to be part of some other personality, to be someone else. I'm the person that probably don't know how to do it. Like, I think if I would do acting, I would be even if I would be asked to, can you act as a tree? I would be like, yes, sure, and then I would fail. So no, John Zuidveld. Do you think that there is a merit in Ukrainian taking Russian territory and Kramatorsk as reparations once they have taken back all of their territory? But Kramatorsk is Russian, is Ukrainian. What? Is it some other city you meaning? But no, Rostov on Don. Ukraine doesn't need anything. Ukraine doesn't need Russian territory. That's the whole thing. That's Krasnodar. No. You don't need. Don't. Ukraine doesn't need it. Ukraine never asked for this war. Ukraine is not ask for this war. It was not fighting. Like, whatever Ukraine, like, listen to Zelensky's speech on the New Year. He's basically saying that's like, yeah, Ukraine never ever asked for this. So no. All right, guys. I see more questions and so on. Let's cover them next time. Next stream, I'll stream next week at some point. Let's move on to Operator Starsky channel because he started streaming. I'm gonna post a link, so everyone go there and send him highs. This is our raid, so you can I don't know. You can rate him. I don't know. Write him something nice from that you're from Ukraine matters, or we're sending hi. Let's give him a shout out. Let's give him a clap. He's a great guy, absolutely amazing. Please support him. Support Ukraine. Love you alls, and I'll see you guys next time.
uh, hit Crimea again. So yesterday there was an air alert in Crimea. We can see those tracing bullets flying in the night sky. Obviously, they are so surprised. How could this happen? And then there's something goes off. Again, guys, we are broadcasting from Ukraine. That's why some